Hi, I'm Nyambura and this is 100 on Books. Today I'm going to be talking about waiting, which I talked about in my February wrap-up, but I don't know if it was obvious. I really want to say more things about this book. So, in this book, we're following Lincoln, a doctor in the Communist Army, who has a wife who he met through an arranged marriage. So his parents, because they were growing old, needed help and all of those things, got him a wife who he went on to have a child with, and then they've had a loveless marriage since then. So while he's working at this hospital, he meets this nurse called Mana, who's made to sound like an old maid. But you know, it's one of those situations when you're at the tender age of my redacted age, and then you hear that a 25-year-old is old, you're like, who's going to tell them? Do you know what old is? I'm old. Just kidding. I'm not that old. But my point is that it's one of those situations also where obviously it's in the early days of the Cultural Revolution. It's a very different world. And so 25 is ancient. Anyway, so he meets Mana, and there are rules against also like engaging in affairs because of reasons that will explain in the book. And so the two of them can only like walk together or like such charmed things, but they can't conduct like a full-fledged affair. They can't conduct like a full-fledged affair because he needs to get a divorce from his wife. So each year, he only goes home for about 10 days. A very short period. He doesn't go home for 2 weeks even. He goes home, he speaks to his wife, he tries to convince her to give him a divorce. Explains, I'm going to keep sending you money and I'll support you, you can live on the land, etc. I just really, really need to get a divorce. Sis is like, I got you. I'm going to give you this divorce. They get caught. In some instances, by the time they get caught, that divorce is just not going to happen. Year after year after year after year after year after year. And when I say year after year, I mean we read the year after year instances in this book. Like year 1, year 2, year 3. But Hajin does such a good job of taking us through those 18 years before he's able to get the divorce that you don't feel like you're reading a book over 18 years. So a lot of other things are happening, and a bit of you starts to root for that divorce, But also his wife, Shiyu, is such a kind, loving woman who, through no fault of her own, is not an ideal wife for him. Her feet have been bound because she came from a more traditional family, but she's so dutiful, so caring, so loving to their daughter and to his own family. And so you're also of two minds, like, should you really be leaving this wife, you heartless man? Anyway, finally, he marries Mana, his one true love. And you know the way these things go. You've been waiting for ages to marry someone, and then you marry them and you're like, I don't believe it. That's pretty much how it goes. And then they're blessed with twins. And this is important because the one-child policy has been instituted, but the way you can get around that is to get more than one child at a go, like to have multiples. But after the babies arrive, his wife has heart issues, and by the time the book ends, it's quite clear that the beautiful life he had intended for himself is soon coming to an end. And for me, this book wasn't just about watching him waiting, as the title suggests, for his marriage to end and for his new life to begin. It was also about thinking about how men live certain lives, like they have certain expectations of their lives, and so when those things don't come to fruition, they have a particular frustration. He's particularly frustrated that he's not getting his way, and also that the reason he's thwarted is, as you'll find out in the book, his brother-in-law, his wife's brother. And so he comes to expect a certain sort of life for himself, and he comes to enjoy certain privileges from having this dalliance with Mana while he's married. But once he gets married to Mana, things don't go quite as he expected, and by the end of the book, he's almost inclined to go back to Shiyu, but you know, that's not how life works. You just can't go back to your previous wife and be like, haha, change my mind. So I really had so many thoughts when I read this book. I'm going to have my mom on at some point so we can talk about books we both read, because we both had such strong feelings reading this book. But it's also the sort of book which you can't put down. You know those times when books are described as unputdownable. This book was unputdownable. And so it would be really nice to talk about this with somebody else, somebody who is not my mother, who I enjoy talking about books with, evidently. And just to have a sense of, yeah, how you found the book. So let me know down in the comments if you've read Waiting by Hajin and what you thought of it. Thanks, and talk to you soon. Bye. Bye. Oh, bye.